Is it just me, or is everyone else's fridge getting a little bit more out of control this summer? Maybe it's because, we've thrown a few little summer parties, and so my buying is irregular. Like sometimes I'm buying enough for the two of us, sometimes I'm buying way more, and maybe I overbuy. I don't know. But what I do know is that I've had to clean out my fridge a lot more often since the warm weather has hit. And so I thought, you know what? Today I'm just going to take you along with me. This little, I don't know if it's called like a bar fridge or a wine cooler here underneath this counter. And then I have a smaller than normal, you can see that I am taller than this fridge, refrigerator here. Now, my kitchen is a little bit quirky. I've got this narrow space. And when we bought the house, we had a fridge here that went right up to the top, which is nice. I mean, ideally your fridge goes up to the space that it's supposed to take. But what happened was, the door on that fridge was so wide that when it would swing out, it would hit the oven. The oven setup was a little bit different, but it would still hit the oven if it was a regular size door. So instead, we opted to get one that has a small enough door that even if you're here getting something out of the fridge, someone can sneak behind you to get to the sink here, to get some water, to make it to the air fryer, the dishwasher, whatever they need. So I have the equivalent of a fridge worth of room, but I do realize that my setup is a little funky. Don't worry, if I'm talking about tips for cleaning out your own fridge, I will speak as if you have one fridge that you're cleaning out, because I feel like that's the case for most people. This just happens to be the setup that works best for our space and our kitchen right now and our budget. I'm tackling this fridge clean out in categories. Because of my fridge setup, I find that this is the most efficient way to do it. Of course, you could always do it by shelf if you have a normal size fridge, but I still recommend starting with leftovers first, whether you're going a whole fridge at a time or shelf by shelf. I don't want to just go through a random safari of the fridge looking for stuff to get rid of. And leftovers are the things that get out of control fastest, at least for me. They're the most likely to be forgotten and to go moldy in the fridge. They're also often the hardest to reuse in something else, although that's not always the case. And they're often in oversized containers that can free up a lot of room in your fridge if you clean them out, which makes it easier to clean out the rest of the fridge. I know rules can feel really annoying sometimes, but I find that making rules for specific projects frees me from making the same type of decisions multiple times, especially if I'm doing cleaning or decluttering. It makes the process take less time and energy, which I am all about. So I've made a few rules for this fridge declutter to keep me from stressing about it too much. Rule number 1, if it's moldy, obviously it goes. I probably don't even really need to say that, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do that anyway. And number 2, if it smells weird, it goes. You'll notice I'm smelling a lot of the items as I pull them out of the fridge, and that's just because if I don't like how it smells, I'm getting rid of it. Rule number 3, if I hesitate to say I would eat it, it goes. I wouldn't say that I'm super picky about eating food that's on the verge of going bad, although there are exceptions. So I feel comfortable using my taste to measure that I'm not wasting good food if I throw it away. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if I'm wasting good food or not. If I'm not going to eat it, it is going to go to waste. And number 4, if it needs to be used in the next few days, but I don't think we feel like eating it, or I don't think it fits into the menu plan, I'm just going to go and throw it away now so that I don't have to clean it out in a few days. So those are the rules I'm using to decide what stays and what goes in this fridge declutter, and it's really helping me move toward my goal with this fridge of decluttering for usability. As far as goals for this fridge clean out are concerned, I'm doing my very best to be realistic. I'd love to never come across moldy food again, but let's be honest. Food gets older every single day, and there's only so much that we can eat. I'm already trying to minimize my food waste as much as I can, but I feel like our summer schedule has thrown a bit of a monkey wrench in that. So anyway, in an effort to be more realistic with the goals that I'm setting, I've decided that I don't care if I clean my fridges out perfectly, but I do need to make it easier to find things that I'm looking for in both places. I'm also almost out of leftover containers, which is usually the first sign that something is rotting in the fridge. Perks of being a minimalist. So I'd like to get a few more of those containers back in my cupboard when all of this is said and done. And I'm realizing I didn't really explain much about my current organizational system with my fridges. The first fridge, the one under the counter, the bar fridge, whatever, the one with the clear front, is where we try to keep most of our leftovers. It's closer to our dining area. It's a little bit harder to access when cooking, and so I try to keep most of my ingredients in this cute blue vintage fridge and most of my leftovers in the one with the glass front. However, things have been so crazy in the fridge world recently that they have started to cross over. I have some types of food in both. So theoretically, even though the glass front fridge should be the one with leftovers, and honestly it does have the most leftovers, I am still checking this blue fridge as well. Okay, so I figured this was as good a time as any to check in and see how we're going with this fridge process. As you can see, the small fridge is not cleared out enough to fit in all of the leftovers from the other fridge, so we're gonna work on that. I also have a sink full of dishes, a bunch of stuff that I got out of the glass fronted fridge, and just a ton of leftovers that were in here that needed to go, and I am so glad that I was able to go through both fridges and get them out. I also came across something that I wasn't really expecting, and that was just the sheer amount of what I think is condensation on top of a bunch of containers in the clear fronted fridge. I don't know where all this condensation was coming from, but a lot of the leftover containers, when I pulled them out, actually splashed water onto the floor and then onto the counter where I was setting them before emptying their contents into the trash. And so as you can see, I had to clean that up here midway, but honestly, most things don't go as easy as you expect them to go, and this was a fairly minor hiccup overall. So I'm grateful for that, and I will be moving on here shortly to the next category. I'm moving on to what I consider my basic building blocks of meals that live in the fridge. So vegetables, meat, cheese, and other dairy products, potentially fruit. I'm just going to go in, check, and make sure that everything is going well with those items in my fridge. Sometimes meat or vegetables or things need to be moved to the freezer, and sometimes they need to be cleaned out and thrown away. But basically, I'm following the rules I outlined earlier and seeing how they apply to the items in this category. I also realized at this point in my fridge clean out that I had not thought about the beverages in my fridge and whether or not they would need to be cleaned out. And so I just went ahead and added them here. Maybe they should have gone with condiments, which is the next step, but here we are. I did it with the main ingredients. Now that I've realized that things spoiling in my fridge is becoming more of a problem as the weather has warmed up, I'm considering what I can do to get ahead of it. So I have a few ideas that I'm excited to try. First of all, I'm thinking about adding more freezer meals and veggies to our rotation. I've been doing this already a little bit, buying Trader Joe's frozen meals because I haven't felt as motivated to cook from scratch. You know, heating up the kitchen is not quite as fun. I'm also thinking, okay, maybe instead of buying all fresh veggies, I want to buy some frozen ones so that it's easier to keep track of the veggies I have in my fridge. I'm also wanting to create chicken plus grain plus veggie plus condiments bowls, which is just a fancy way of saying chicken bowls, instead of a super varied format for every night. I don't think this will continue throughout the entire summer, but I'm currently on a bit of a kick with this and it sounds so good. So I'm gonna roast a bunch of chicken thighs and either throw them in the fridge or the freezer to have chicken ready for these bowls, and then just have like a rotating sort of cast of grains and veggies and sauces. Another thing I'm excited to try is having a snack section in our fridge. This is an idea that we had because we're trying to eat more intuitively, and we were thinking about ways that we could organize our kitchen to make that easier. And I also feel like it's going to be a great place to put those little smidges of leftovers that usually get lost in the fridge. Another thing that I want to try, if I end up with enough space for it in my fridge, is grouping foods together that are in danger of spoiling. I think it'd be really nice to have a shelf or something that I can just look at and pull the stuff that is, maybe in danger of going bad and use it before it is rotten. You don't necessarily have to use those exact ideas that I just mentioned for your fridge if that won't work for you. I have a few more ways I want to help you think about this, but first, we need to transition to the next phase of my fridge declutter, which is condiments. I love sauces and condiments. These are the things, besides spices, obviously, that add variety and flavor to food. So I have a lot of them in my fridge at one time. They also keep pretty well, usually for a very long time, so they're often the hardest for me to eliminate from the fridge. But I'm going to see if I can throw a few away today because it has gotten really out of hand recently. Okay, so my original plan here was to go through each of my condiments and sort of show how I was using my rules for each one, but there's a lot here. So I think instead what I'm going to do is I'll show you for a few condiments, and then we will just continue on our merry way, because otherwise you're going to be here all day and you're not going to be learning anything new. So I have these little flavor packets that come from different recipe services that we've used, or I think from takeout as well. I feel like these would need to be used in a few days because we've had them for so long and I forget that they're there. And they don't fit into the menu plan, so we're going to go ahead and throw them away. Let's see. I don't know how long horseradish is good for. Oh my goodness, this is expired, so I think we're just gonna throw that away because I don't know. Horseradish smells weird enough that if it is expired, we're just gonna throw that bad boy away. This I just used yesterday, it stays. This is just some leftover olive oil. I don't need it anymore, so I'm gonna throw it away. I've got some homemade jam that's been open for a while. I hesitate to say that I would eat this, so I think we will empty this out, give my mom the can back. Again, this I've had for a while. I hesitate to say I would eat it because it has been open a while, so I'm gonna throw that away. Same with this. This has been open a while and I hesitate to say I would eat it. This I use all the time, put that back away. This I use all the time. This honey fig jam. Oh. Yeah, I've had this 2 years. I don't see any mold, but I still sort of hesitate to say I would eat it. So I think we're just gonna throw that away. I don't know what this is supposed to smell like or what the best by date is. So I think we're just gonna err on the side of caution, throw it away. I can always buy more. If you find that you have to clean your fridge out more often than you'd like, I think the key here is to remember that you have a few levers to pull. First of all, you can change the types of foods you buy to have fewer things in the fridge at one time. That makes it easier to keep track of what is actually in your fridge and what needs to be used up. For example, you can buy frozen meals, like I was going to, shelf-stable things, things you can leave out on the counter so that it's easier to see the fresh veggies, meat, and other things in your fridge. You can also change the types of foods you're eating to make it easier to use up leftovers and ingredients. Interchangeable ingredients are one way to do this, but you can also just add in a fridge challenge to your weekly menu to try to use those things up in the fridge before they go bad. And finally, you can change how you organize your fridge to make things that are usually forgotten more obvious. Speaking of fridge organization, I did have space in my door to create a couple of shelves for stuff that need to be used up and for snacks. I was also finally able to fit all of my ingredients into the teal fridge and my leftovers and condiments into the glass-fronted fridge again. I feel so relieved to see how usable they look now, especially compared with what they were before, which brings me to my final thoughts on this fridge declutter. This probably isn't the most radical fridge clean-out video you've ever seen, and that's by design. I wanted to be realistic and to create space in our fridge while still leaving us with the option to use some of the things I'd forgotten about because they were hidden by just the absolute chaos in our fridge. Progress over perfection. Anyway, all that to say, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you put it on and you're cleaning out your fridge while I'm cleaning it out and we're kind of cleaning out our fridges together, please let me know how your fridge decluttering went in the comments. And if you'd like to check out some of my other cleaning and decluttering videos, I recommend this one to get you started.